Hello, everyone. Emergency pod time. Alert.
Emergency pod.
Alert.
Wah,
You hear
wah,
that?
wah.
No, that's not a tornado siren. That's the sound of breaking news from a few days ago that we need to talk about. Hello, welcome to an emergency episode of our gaming news podcast titled Pending. I'm Patrick. I'm joined today by Austin, as per usual. The peanut to my butter, the gel
Mm,
to my E. Um,
mm.
we're here to
Am I
talk.
the E or the gel?
I'll let
Oh,
you
I'm the
decide.
gel.
I'll let you decide.
You said the gel to my E, so
I feel like it
sounds
could
like
go
you
either
decided
way.
for me.
Okay.
Being
You
the
could
E
take it.
sounds, I mean, not without, just like putting my last name out there. It kind
Mm,
of works if I'm the E. So,
okay. Whatever your little heart desires, man. You know what I mean? Uh, and our little hearts desire to talk to you about the state of play we got last week from PlayStation. This was a lot of potential for this one. An hour long, over an hour long, actually, now that I'm looking at this.
hmm hmm
Um, Real quick before we dive into this, Austin, what were your surface level thoughts on this overall presentation?
I was uh, thoroughly surprised at how much was in it
Mm,
and how much I cared about the stuff that was in it. These can kind of be pretty hit or miss. And I would say this was probably an above average one for games that I care about on some level.
mm. Yeah, I think I'm a little higher than you on this just because I've watched a lot of state of plays and a lot of them are stinkers. Um,
Sure.
so this one was,
They certainly built up a lot of hype for this one, right? Being like, this is the longest one ever. It's over
mhm.
an hour. And I think it mostly lives up to that.
Yeah, and I think, in Sony and PlayStation's defense, I don't think they were the ones to outright say that. I think a lot of people pointed to that and are like, "Ooh," and like most presentations, people tend to get crazy expectations,
Yeah.
ourselves included. Um, but yeah, I think this one for the most part delivered, and I think we're gonna go through beat by beat, just kind of like talk about what we got here. So Austin, you ready to just jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Wow. And we're starting off with I'll say it with a bang. All right. We got the
Mm,
reveal of Kana's Scars of Kosmora. If you didn't we're gonna go beat by beat. We won't talk about everything, but I do think we need to talk about this because this is
mhm.
a follow-up to Bridge of Spirits, which is a game that was out in 2021, was released on PlayStation. That would have been on PS5 at that point. Um, and then eventually made its way to other consoles, but it was a PlayStation title first. It looks like they're working directly with the PlayStation this time because they had the PlayStation Studios logo. So yeah, this is Ember Labs. This is their follow up to that, and looks incredible. I'll say it. It looks great.
This one, well, one, I didn't really realize that it was a sequel until they started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this made me have a weird thought, and it's not directly about the game. So just if you have any thoughts about the game first,
Sure.
start there. But I want to come back to that. It
Okay.
it looks like a good game. Like I was saying, like, oh, this would be a fun game to play, and then it was like it's a sequel, and I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't played the first one. I do own it. I have it on my PlayStation. I'm going to play it before this comes out. But a lot of it was very much like a 8 out of 10. It's got like I think it's sitting at like an 85 ish, or probably a little lower than that on Metacritic right now. Um, and it sounded very much like my type of game where it's like a third person action, feels like a PlayStation 2 sort of that kind of game where it's like pretty small in scope, but like you're doing a lot of cool stuff. Um, so I never prioritized it, and then they never announced a sequel to it until now. And we've kind of been waiting because Ember Labs, they're a young studio, but yeah. So essentially, what it is, if you're unfamiliar, I guess we should say what the game's about. You play as Kano, who's a spirit guide. She's moving on to a different part of her world, Kosmora. If that is to be what the name of the country is or land is, but it's more open world than the last one. It looks like you have a mount now. I don't know if that was in the first one or not. But it just looks like they're building up on everything they were doing with the first one, which you gotta love for a follow up title.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and they said 2026 for the release date, so we don't have to wait too terribly long, which is exciting.
Yeah, they mostly stuck to things that we're going to release relatively soon in this
Mm.
pod or in this state of play. There was only one game that was announced that had a date that is in 27 or later. There's plenty of games that I'm sure that will release in 27 or later, but they didn't have any dates attached to them.
Yeah. So
The
I.
the
Mhm.
the thing with this game, and I just had to check to make sure, but it is a an Unreal Engine game,
Mm.
which kind of ties into what I was going to say of it it feels like there's this, I guess now propelled partially by UE, of like sameness in the way that some of these games look, and not in a sameness that is necessarily bad, but it feels like the gaming industry has kind of found out that chasing hyper realism is incredibly cost ineffective, in the sense that if you create a game that is about hyperrealism but has nothing new from a gameplay perspective, you have a very high cost and a decently high chance that you're not going to make that much money on it because you've done nothing truly interesting.
Mhm.
And we've kind of reached, like, it is marginally getting better at this point, the hyperrealism uh stuff, but not like transforming in the way that it would from like PS2 to PS3 to PS4 to PS5, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so they've gone with this new kind of what we'll call like stylized realism in the way that characters and worlds look, which means that the fidelity of it in terms of the different things that have to go on the screen, or like in a skin texture or hair, which has always been a really hard thing to figure out in video games. It feels like they've found a ground where it's like, if you want to be visually interesting but not chase hyperrealism, there's this new UE inspired kind of uh, realistic but stylized kind of genre that's growing, and this is what kind of fits into that bucket for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'd throw this, and then it's probably a little less like what you're describing, but I'd throw Expedition 33 in that bucket as well to an extent, because I think there is a little bit of hyperrealism in there, but it is also like a very painterly, artistic representation of how these characters look and how their attacks follow through and look and stuff, and the general design sense of that game. Um, but this, going back to Kain, it looks very much like you would imagine like a Pixar mixed with like Studio Ghibli movie might look, with its overall art style. And I think you can tell it's an Unreal 5, right? It is an Unreal 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it has that fidelity that you would expect from like Unreal's latest platform. So it looks great, it looks good. And I think having that style to it is a lot more interesting to me, and it sounds like you, than having like someone who I can see like all the little like scratch marks on their skin. Like I don't care about that.
Yeah,
Make
I
a
think
game
it
look pretty.
limits you in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like another big thing that kind of ties into that is it feels like along the same sense that they're going away from the hyperrealism in uh graphics, they're
Mm-hmm.
also going away from it in content. So I think about like Expedition 33, Kana, I think about Beasts of Reincarnation, which we'll talk about later,
Mm-hmm.
which are these like stylized visuals with this like super deep nature theme, like Avatar style, lots of like fluorescent lighting in the nature and that kind of stuff that gives this like very vibrant and bright um game game,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that a lot more. Like one of the things, as someone who's put thousands and thousands of hours in Call of Duty and lots of other, multiplayer games, one of the things, like when I started playing Fortnite and then went away from it and went back to like Call of Duties and stuff like that, the thing that I always missed is the bright colorfulness of Fortnite compared to the dull realism of Call of Duty. It's like when you
Mm-hmm.
play that over and over again, eventually that kind of wears on you, in a way that it doesn't as much as in Fortnite, because you can do a lot more. Like you can do weirder shit and it's fits into the world in a way
Mm-hmm.
that, like, there's always the argument, they show like the Advanced Warfare clowns or like, you know, Nicki Minaj being in a Call of Duty game and being like, why
Yep.
is this in Call of Duty?
Yep.
And you get this like cognitive dissonance. You don't have that in these kinds of ones. And so I much more enjoy this kind of move towards more stylization and not so realistic things that allows you a wider breadth of ideas. And others fit into it too, Horizon and stuff
Hmm.
like that as well.
Yeah. I think especially for a game like Kano or a game like Expedition 33 allows you to, yeah, like you said, go a little crazier if you would. Um, and I think you could also apply this sort of logic to the next title, quote unquote, that they showed, which would be Ghost of Yotei Legends. This would be the multiplayer portion of Ghost of Yotei, where you take on the main story's big baddies, but as like mythical beasts and stuff. I don't have too much to say about this. I know people really like the Ghost of Tsushima Legends portion of that game. Looks very stylish. Looks like you do a lot with this. I know people will have their 2 weeks of fun with this and probably move on. But it does look pretty good. I don't know if you have anything on this one.
This one I have a broader question
Uh
around
huh.
this one of we have this happened in Horizon as well, right? Where there's like these, and we'll talk about the God of War one here in a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but this kind of like in between main series games creating these, and this is a DLC, I understand, but
Right.
like these kind of offshoot versions, Night Rain fits into that, that they fill into the kind of blanks
Mm-hmm.
in the space between. And I'm wondering how well these actually do. Like, is this a trend that's going to stick and actually makes money? In this case, it's free, so it's not going to make the money. But
Right.
like this whole kind of push for this, is it actually profitable to do? I don't know because it seems like Horizon and Night Rain to some extent have kind of fallen on the people are not really excited for this because it kind of falls too far outside of the realm of what the normal game is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this, as Ghosts of Yotei Legends, kind of fits more on the side of it fits a little bit better, but it's a little weird, kind of a fit, like this co op boss fight kind of uh, thing. So I don't know. It's a trend that I'm tracking to see is this something that's going to stick around or is this something that's going to die off?
Yeah. And it's weird too, because like when you talk about like those filler titles, yeah, I see that. But like when it's like free DLC that you add on for like a co-op experience. We only have this in like Tsushima that really did this, as far as I can recall, at least.
Prey did
Um,
it with Moon Crash and so
sure,
did God of
sure,
War
okay.
with as those are two roguelites, right? I mean, so
Well, I'm more so referring to like the co-op multiplayer aspect of
mm,
it,
mhm,
but
mhm.
yeah, those also apply. I think in this case is like that's more for God of War at least that was a sort of like an epilogue to that game. I think there was that appeals to a larger audience than I think this might. This to me almost feels like the multiplayer part of like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or like Last of Us Factions, like something you might see from like a mid to late 2000s, early 2010s like AAA game that's like, well, we need multiplayer. Let's just throw something in there. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd be
Well,
curious to see what the thought on this one is.
I mean, you would think like the kind of general wisdom that I think you get from the Mass Effect online stuff and
Mm.
all of that from the 2010s was like the crossover between single player people and people who want to put a bunch of time into multiplayer is not that big. Like
Mm.
I actually think they're pretty distinct groups in a lot of ways. Like there's plenty of people who cross over like us,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
there's tons of people who are single player only and tons of people who are multiplayer only. And so is this something like I don't know how many people like Ghost of Yotei is pretty squarely in the like people who will mostly play single player games are going to play this game like
Right.
I don't think it's breaking into the wider context of gaming that much. So how much is a multiplayer mode wanted for a game like that? I didn't know that there was a version of it in Ghost of Tsushima, so maybe they saw from that that
Hmm.
it did well enough that they should have another one. But it's just interesting to think like how many people are you really converting with a multiplayer mode for a
Right.
single player game.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what the thought process on this one at least. I can see the argument. It's like, oh well, people were kind of surprised by how good the first one was, so we're doing it again. But like you're saying, I think even more so now than like 2010, like the gap between someone who gets this game to play single player and the person who gets this to play Legends, like there's a big difference there. I think especially nowadays because we have so many options because we don't have to play a single player game if we want an experience like Ghost of Yotei Legends. So yeah, I'll be
But ultimately, free DLC will take it all the
right. I
same.
mean, W for all people that own this game. So it's a good move. I just yeah, I'm curious to see what the reasoning behind doing it is. Now you've got me curious. I'm gonna email Sucker Punch right now actually.
There you go.
And then following up from that, we got Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is coming out on PC with a bunch of upgrades, a bunch of cool stuff. Seems pretty par for the course for a Kojima game coming to PC, I think. I don't know if you had any thoughts on this particular beat.
I do not.
Cool, cool, cool. Right on. We got to look at a bigger look at Four Loop. This is the Bad Robot co-op shoot 'em up, not shoot 'em up, that's a different thing, but it's like a co-op. You're going through doing different runs. It almost seems like roguelike ish in a
It
way, but
is. It
it
is
is.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Though
Oh
they
yeah.
showed the like FTL style uh like map where you
Oh, the
choose
map.
the kind of winding path
Oh yeah, I see that. Yep.
of missions that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of have a lot of thoughts on this one in a weird way, in the sense that like I fit squarely in the middle of the exact person who should be into this game. I love roguelikes. I
Yep.
love shooters. I play tons of co-op games, and yet this game doesn't feel like it's doing anything new. Like it's taking a bunch of interesting stuff and put it together, but it kind of just looks like your average sci-fi game and kind of looks like it's got the average like co-op game mode sections.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of concerned. I'm gonna play it, and I think they had talked. There was, is it this one that they were talking about? There was going to be a beta for. I can't remember.
I think.
But I'll definitely be trying it. I'm just kind of hesitant, and that's not good when I'm the person who is squarely in the middle of the exact person that you should expect to want to play this game.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I mean this in a positive or a negative way. I mean, this game reminds me of a couple of different games. The first one it reminds me of would be Back for Blood.
For sure.
In the sense that it's like co-op, but it looks like it looks like it's AAA, maybe doesn't play like it's AAA. Um, so I mean, already this game has a lot to prove to me personally. I don't. I mean, this is Bad Robot's like first game they're like producing, I think, right? So I mean, they've got a lot to prove regardless. But um, I don't know. I when I saw this start popping up and they started going through the footage, my eyes just started kind of glazed over a little bit. And I kind of stopped paying attention a whole lot. Like my interest in a game like this
Yeah.
isn't super there right now until we get towards the end and they start showing off some bosses and I start getting Remnant 2 vibes from the bosses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of start winning me back a little bit. Like you get this grid that you have these people having to duck and dive through. You have this Rubik's cube that we got to shoot from different locations. Like I love that kind
Yeah,
of
that was the
design
most
for a
interesting
boss.
piece for sure.
Hmm. And I think especially for a co-op game like this, I think that's the right move. I think they should really like push that as like one of their big selling points. I think you would attract a larger audience for that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, yeah, if they're doing like a beta, we'll have to look into that. I definitely want to give it a shot, but like right now they still got to prove themselves to me. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at with it.
The big things for me, like specifically about what they were talking about, because they had Mike Booth in there, like
Hmm.
talking in the trailer. He said something to the effect of like, "We want to have a bunch of different ways that you can play the game, like unique ways to play," but
Yeah,
then didn't really expand on that at all. And
right.
then the clips in the background were like a guy stealthing invisible behind like AI robots, and then like going to the objective. And none of that is like that unique.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that is kind of concerning. you couldn't give me any specific examples, and what you showed me was like the the most basic like entry level RPG mechanic that every game has is like a stealth function. So uh kind of not great in that sense. And then the UI looks like a alpha UI. It looks like has no detail, super generic. Like they open a chest at one point
Hmm.
and there's just like a coin, but it's not like a textured coin. It's just like a circle with like
Like
a
a PNG.
money symbol in it. And you're like, this is like there's no interesting thing to look at there. I'm just like, or is hopefully that is going to be iterated on because it's kind of like what happened with Marathon. Again, another thing we'll talk about later is
Hmm.
like when people first looked at it, they kind of went like, "This is what your art style and UI is going to be." It's really basic, and then they
Yeah.
iterated on it, and it looks a lot better now. So
After
hopefully they can do some of that with For Loop as well.
I'm hoping because it's like I don't want a game like this to fail. I don't want it to come out and like just flop. So I mean I am rooting for it. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did he say it was they what they show is like pre-alpha footage or pre-beta
That I don't
footage?
know.
I'd have to go
I would
back and
assume
look.
so because it's not releasing like tomorrow, so
Right.
I don't even think they have a release date set for it yet.
Yeah, because I think a lot of it does look a little rough. I agree with you. So I think there's definitely stuff they can improve on. So yeah, visually, I think that's a huge part of what I think you've hit that in the head for me. I don't think visually it's very appealing to me.
Yeah, I
Um,
think the big thing is just when you have a game that you're gonna play over and over, right? The whole idea of a roguelike is you have to like
mhm.
you do the same things over and over again. So you have to have unique ways to play, which I think has always been a struggle for third person shooter types for
Yeah,
games like this.
especially
Like
games like this. Yeah.
there's not a wide breadth of different ways you can play. Um, typically without like some big innovation.
Hmm.
And also you want it to like look interesting, right? One of the things of like Mugenics just came out and Binding of Isaac before that, and the
Yeah.
those roguelikes like they're visually very different than anything else. This looks like most sci-fi that you see these days.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's a third person game. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was from People Can Fly. It was like 2020, 2021. I can't remember, but it was pretty stock standard visual style sci-fi movie vibe, and that's what I'm getting from here, for better or worse. Um, and that game people played it because there's nothing else to play. This there's a lot of other games we could be playing. So I mean, yeah, I keep saying it. They got to prove themselves. But yeah, if we don't have anything else on that, we can move on
Yep.
to the brief Capcom bit of this show. They showed a little bit of Pragmata, not too much to talk about here. They just kind of showed like a story trailer of like what the interaction between the two leads is going to be. Some Last of Us vibes, if I'm being honest with you, and it like the good kind of Last of Us vibes. Let me be clear.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, just once again showing just
I
like I don't know. This game looks interesting. I'm curious.
Yeah. The one note I had from that trailer was somehow the robot sounded more human than the human sounded. It's not like actually human or whatever, but
Right.
it weirdly sounded more human than the robot looking one,
Hmm.
and that was odd to me. Uh, Other than that, I don't know that we really saw much new from. I mean, we're so close to when this is coming out in April, and they've
Yeah.
already got the beta out for it, right?
Right.
So it can already be played. So I think we're kind of really seeing everything we can see with this one. That was just a weird note that I got from their interaction. I was like, I feel like these voices are backwards a little bit here.
Yeah, I think the one thing of note that I think we got from this was that, oh, no, I'm actually getting ahead of myself. I think. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Never mind. Put a pin in that. Um, but yeah, they did say the gameplay demo is now out on the PlayStation 5, so you could go check it out now if you want to. But I don't know if it's the same one that's on Steam. I don't actually know that, but either way, you got a couple of ways you can try this game out. But yeah, moving on, we get another game that's as of recording, just a couple weeks away, we got Resident Evil Requiem. We saw more of Leon and Grace, I think your name is, doing their thing, talking to it looks like the main antagonist of this game. Nothing crazy, really. We do see Leon approach the police headquarters slash museum at the end of the trailer, which is, if you're unaware, where Resident Evil 2 takes place, or most of it does at least. So cool that we're going back there. I think we already knew that though, so nothing crazy new. Um, any thoughts on this? I know you're not a huge Resident Evil guy.
I it was interesting to me. So I watched the trailer, and you're talking about the museum history or police station stuff.
Hmm.
I had no idea that, because I haven't played any of the games, that that's what that was.
Yeah,
But the way that they shot it, you could very very clearly tell it was like a, look everyone, it's this thing that you know of, and I didn't
yeah.
even know what it was. So it was so hilarious to me that it just like did the shot perfectly in that sense of the like, this is what it is,
Hmm.
even though I didn't actually know what the reveal was.
That's very funny. Well, I will say Resident Evil 2 Remake is a very good game, and I think you can handle it. Maybe. Um, but anyway, we'll move right along. That's not all. We're digging up more games from the past because guess what? Legacy of Kain Defiance is getting remastered. Don't have too much to say on this one other than cool that we're keeping the series alive and preserving some of this stuff. Um, they did mention that they had like a playable demo of the canceled sequel, which I love
Mhm.
shit like that. I think that's awesome for game preservation and keeping some of that stuff alive, even if we'll never get to see the finished product.
Yeah, I think this is the exact way you handle a remaster. And this
Hmm.
is really going a ways back. But when they did the remaster for the three original Batman Arkham games
Mm.
for Xbox One and
Yeah, the Return to
PS4 at the
Arkham
time,
stuff.
whatever the case. Yeah,
Yeah,
they kind of uh, lambasted a little bit because they basically added nothing to the
right.
game. They just really just updated the graphics a little bit.
Hmm.
This is the exact opposite of that. It's like when you get deleted scenes or extras on a DVD or a Blu-ray. It's like that's what they've done here, but in video game form, and that's what you should do. Empty the files. Go back in time. I'm sure it's on a bunch of people's PCs, all the excess
Hmm.
files. Go
Yeah,
back, dig up all that stuff, and put the like unfinished stuff or weird shit that you were trying into your remaster, and let people like enjoy this next level. Because there's certain games, right? Like when Witcher 1 remake comes out, that's going to bring in a new audience.
yeah.
But this Legacy of Kain remaster is not doing that. Like there's not a
Hmm.
Legacy of Kain game around the corner, I don't think.
Well,
So what you're really doing is selling to the core audience. And so you got to give them something new and cool, right? And a bunch of stuff that they've never seen before that deepens their attachment to this old game is the perfect way to do that.
yeah, and here I agree. This is definitely for people that were like Legacy of Kain like sickos. Like you have the one remasters of 1 and 2. I think that came out not all that long ago. But you say there's not a new one coming out. There actually is one coming out in a month. um,
A
I don't.
brand new game?
Yeah, it's a 2D platform. I think it was
Whoa.
announced the same day as the state of play. I have no idea why they didn't show it. Um, but so
That's a weird turn. A 2D platformer?
it's
Okay.
very odd. Yeah, I don't fully understand the reasoning behind it, but I also think that that is also not really to try and get newcomers into the series. Because I think for all intents and purposes, outside of this remaster and this new game, I think the series is largely dormant. So I don't think they're really trying to
Yeah.
get a whole lot of people on board with this. So,
Well,
but
they're too busy making
Tomb Raider
yeah, Tomb Raider games.
and hopefully not getting closed. Um, so yeah, cool that that's happening. Always love that stuff. Okay, and we got a trailer for a game called Brigandine Abyss. They claim this is some long-running classic JRPG franchise. I have never heard of this. Never in my life have I heard of this. I have.
I don't even remember this trailer playing, if I'm being honest.
I, it's like some sort of like tactical. We don't need to spend any time on this really. I have no thoughts on it. It looks like it's like quasi Fire Emblem like, where it's
Originally
like
released
tactics.
in on the PlayStation in 1998.
Yeah, like they're trying to push that like this is a big
Okay.
return. I've never heard of it though. If you're a brigandine, if you're a brigadier, let us know in the
Mm.
comments because I've never heard of it, and I would be curious to know about it. Um,
On a tangential note at best, I did uh download Ray Fantasio onto my PC to
mm,
play.
okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
How
Stepping into the JRPG world.
I am very curious to see how you take to that because I 'cause it sounds like it's just Persona but with a different skin. So I'll be curious how you take to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know they're doing a collab with Sandfall for Expedition 33. I don't know what the extent of that is, but I'm like that's kind of cool.
That kind of sounds cool though.
Yeah. And then we continue on with another long running game franchise. We had the Dead or Alive segment. They were like, hey, we got the people that make Dead or Alive here. We're gonna talk about that for like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, cool. This is a series that's kind of been dormant for for a bit. It feels like they're releasing I don't even know what you want to call this, like a director's cut version of the last one, Dead or Alive 6. But it's like got added features is like the final version of the game, uh, which is cool. I'm sure Dead or Alive fans are happy because yeah, I don't know if they've had a new release in a minute. Um, I'm just gonna go through and just say, hey, we also got some new project that we're working on. They didn't give it a name or a title, but all we saw was Ryu from Ninja Gaiden and some titties, and that's it.
The shot was incredible, dude. Just dead on at the titties.
Yeah,
No face. It panned up at the end, but I was like, what the fuck are we doing,
I
guys?
don't think it panned up.
We're goon maxing out here at this point. Like,
that
what are we doing?
that's like we know who this game is for, and it's like I'm sure if you actually played Dead or Alive, you know who that is based on the outfit, not and the boobies, but I don't. I'm not a Dead or Alive person. I'm happy for the people that love this series, but and I'm glad it's back and they're doing new stuff. Because I think the original designer producer passed away last year, so I'm like happy that they're still doing it and all that. But so I mean, whatever, cool. Have your fun over
My
there, I
only
guess.
question is the fighting game like does it really sell that many copies that we have this many coming out? Like it feels like it's kind of to me like Souls-like games. Like for some
Hmm.
reason there's just like a billion Souls-like games coming and it doesn't feel like it's that big of a market. Like clearly, like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and the staples of that genre sell and
Yeah.
sell well and Elden Ring, but is the like random seventh best like dark like Souls like offshoot selling well? Is the like you know we've got so many. I mean, we just watched Riot Games shut down basically their fighting game,
Hmm.
and like is it really that big of a market that we have all of these games being put into it and they're actually going to sell it? Am I just blind to that? I don't know.
I could not tell you because I at least with Souls likes like we're kind of like if you get into them you're in for all of them pretty much like I can play through all three Dark Souls, play through Elden Ring, play through Bloodborne, and still be like, okay, I'm done with FromSoft games. Oh, there's Sekiro. Actually, let me play that. But then what? And so that I do think there is a market for that specifically. I think once you get to start talking about fighting games, I feel like most people have like their series that they stick with, like either Mortal Kombat sicko, a Street Fighter sicko, Tekken sicko. Especially if you're professional, like you really can't afford to spend too much time in a series that's not your main one. So like a series that's
Well,
been
and it's
hmm
so technical, right? Like a lot of the thing with high level
right,
like fighting games is like you're talking about pixel perfect actions. And so like you that doesn't like translate necessarily between games, right?
yeah, hmm so yeah, especially yeah, high level play. I don't think sales will necessarily translate. I don't know. I think for a legacy series like Dead or Alive, I think there could be a market. I think so, once you start getting a little bit more obscure, like Invincible Versus or 2XKO, just because they're like based on a popular franchise, it's still a new fighting game that maybe doesn't hasn't necessarily proven itself. Um, and I don't know if they expect this game to sell gangbusters because I don't know if Dead or Alive has ever had it like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question though. Something to keep an eye on. Um, yeah, and then we kind of move away from that. We move into a good segment on Control Resonant, or showing off more of the gameplay and more of what the action is going to look like in that. Uh, I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I was doing the dishes while I was watching this, so I kind of didn't watch all this part. um, but
All I got from it was it looks like Inception, the video game, in some sense. I mean, that's a very
mm,
surface level of just like the movement they're showing us. But I was
right,
like, that whole segment where they're like in the like kind of three-dimensional city on itself. I was
yeah,
like, this is like really weird and trippy. And I kind of was concerned at first about how the movement was going to work in that.
hmm,
Because it could get like it could very easily become really floaty
yeah,
like in the air, but it looked like there was some like grappling and that kind of stuff that made it feel not so crazy. But I don't know. I'm still a little on the fence about the way the movement of that's gonna work. The
yeah,
action piece of it though, I did feel was solid.
yeah.
I wasn't like blown away, but I was like, this looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I definitely got a sense of like the gravity rush aspect of it where you're like shifting your center of gravity and all that stuff. So I knew about that, and I'm seeing him like transform his weapon in like different types of weapons, which I fuck with. I think the action looks cool. I have not played the first Control. That's something I'm gonna have to get to before this, but um just from a artistic like art design level, um this looks sick. It looks sick.
Hmm.
uh, Knowing oh my god, oh my mind is like, hey, you wanted to know the name of the studio that made this makes this game? Sorry, too bad. Fuck you.
Remedy.
Thank you. um I I feel like they can deliver on this one. So
Yeah, I think if anything, we should have faith in Remedy.
hmm did we get a release date for this yet, or is it still just 2026?
I don't. Nope. Still 26.
Oh, you know what, okay, I did watch the final part of this bit where they showed him fighting that boss, and it was just getting all, you know, Doctor Strange like levels of like, oh, I've got like 50 arms. Uh,
Oh, that's where this is the I totally forgot. There's this section. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's like a boss, but it
mhm.
reminds me of those fucking flying things from Avengers 1. That's what it reminds me of.
Oh, the Chitara. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I
I
see
was
it.
and but it shoots lasers.
Badass. And then yeah, nothing on release dates. So yeah, we'll just kind of move right along. It looks sick. I think we're both tentatively excited for that. But now and then we moved into Crimson Moon. I'm gonna be so real with you. I've watched this part. I don't really. Was this is this like a co-op experience thing?
Yeah.
Um, okay. So essentially,
It
what it is, you're climbing. It looks like you're climbing some sort of castle tower thing with the buddy. Looks almost Dark Soulsy, but like more cartoonish from an art style perspective. Um, could be interesting.
it
I don't know.
it almost looks like Warhammer, but if Warhammer was mixed with kind of like Doom style baddies, but
Mm,
also a lot more light. Like it's got the over the top extravagance of Warhammer, where like you have these giant statues and walls that are just like covered in detail,
mm-hmm,
kind of like Notre Dame style with lots of points and all that kind of stuff. But then the enemies remind like I was getting like Doom vibes from the enemies. It's like a whole I don't know. It's like a whole lot of weird mix mash together. The hack and slash stuff just has I mean as we've talked about before, it doesn't always necessarily do it for me.
mm-hmm.
um but it seems semi interesting.
Yeah, that's one I'll wait for reviews on. But yeah,
Oh,
I
it
mean,
also kind of reminds me of Band of Brothers randomly, or no, not Band of Brothers. Two brothers, brothers of brothers in what is that fucking Xbox? It's a like co-op third.
Broforce.
No, 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 no. Oh, shit. What is it called? Brothers Xbox. Xbox
Oh, Army of
game.
Two.
Army of Two. Yeah, 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 yeah. That last shot with their helmets on
Mm-hmm.
gives very strong Army of Two vibes randomly.
Yeah. Uh, Interesting. So that's 2026. I was trying to look up probably monsters. I don't know if they've done anything before. I don't know if this is their debut or not. Um, but yeah, it almost gives a little bit of like Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Goblins, whichever version of that game you prefer. Sort of as far as the art style goes, but like it's definitely more Doom or Hammer like as far as the combat goes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much to say on it other than that. So I think we'll
This
just
is a game that I'd maybe try if it was on Game Pass, but otherwise I probably wouldn't.
absolutely. This is like the definition of a Game Pass game. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. And then we moved on to Beast of Reincarnation. We've seen this game recently at the developer direct. I'm trying to remember if there's anything new here. I think we got new snippets of story stuff. I think we also got a release date. I don't know if we got that from the developer direct. Um,
I don't
that's coming
remember.
out
This
in
is it's coming out August 4th.
yeah.
The thing that was interesting about this to me is not necessarily anything that the trailer shows, but
Mhm,
that this game is 6 months out and displayed in both the developer direct and the state of play,
mhm,
which means that everyone is bought into this game. Everyone. Like they are
mhm.
fully convinced that this is going to be a hit, which is interesting. I mean, like they're a known studio, right? But they're known for a entirely different kind of game. Like Game Freak
Yeah,
is known for Pokemon, right? That
and
is
I'd
nothing like this at
yeah,
all.
and I'd argue
So
that
it's
even
kind of
those haven't been so great lately too. So
sure. And so I'm kind of like it's interesting and I was just kind of clocking it like everyone has decided that this game is going to be good.
yeah,
And
I,
I'm excited for it. Like that's not this is not me being like you shouldn't be excited for this. I think it actually like after I watched in the developer direct and they were talking about it, I was really interested in this game and
mhm.
this only furthered that. But I was just like it's crazy that they're bought into it this much that it's 6 months out and they're putting it front and center for both Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, I hadn't necessarily thought about it from that perspective because I come from, as someone who's played Pokemon my entire life, knowing Game Freak and that being what they're known for, anytime they've tried to deviate from that has never gone well. So like this gets revealed, I'm like, are we sure this is the one that people are trying to stake their claim on this? And now you saying
Yeah.
that, kind of paints in a new perspective for me. So yeah, I'm still hesitant on it. This isn't what I'm going to rush out to try. I think if reviews are strong enough, then that's a different story. But um, you saying that definitely makes me reconsider all of my preconceived notions about a game I've never played. Um,
If you elevator pitch this to me, like Game Freak, the studio that makes Pokemon, is gonna
mhm,
make an action RPG in this like super realistic natural world like high stylized visual thing,
mhm,
I would be like, I'm gonna take the under on this. Like
right.
this is but I think everyone is signaling that no, this is legit. And they've kind of followed the model of Sandfall, where they have a small core team that's developed the concept and does the pieces of it that they're good at, but
Hmm.
they've contracted out the work for all the stuff that they don't necessarily have the expertise in to other studios to handle for them. So it seems like this is an interesting new model that's being kind of pioneered right now of the small team that contracts a lot of work, and I'm interested to kind of see where it goes
Yeah,
because I mean, clearly it worked for Expedition 33, right? And it looks
right.
like this game could be pretty good too.
I think having the name Game Freak attached to it's going to help it sell. I think this game is going to do pretty all right.
You think
Uh,
they have a name that big? I mean, they certainly do in Japan, right? But and this is a Japanese game, so I guess that matters. But you
yeah.
think Game Freak has really got that like name recognition to the average gamer in the US?
Average gamer, no, but I feel like if you're like, let's say you're someone that grew up playing Pokemon, then you moved on. Like you've seen the name Game Freak millions of times, booting up, Pokemon Fire Red or whatever in your Game Boy. Um, so I think to those gamers, yes. I don't think this is like universally like, oh shit, fucking Activision's doing a new whatever. Like it's not like that
Yeah.
kind of attache, but I do think it turns heads for people that like know. So I think from that respect it helps. Um, Speaking of things that people know, working on our segue game. Um,
Mm.
we went from that into Rayman 30th Anniversary Edition. This is a collection of Rayman's early 2D adventures, none of his 3D stuff, as far as I can tell. Um, but yeah, there have been rumblings of this happening, so I wasn't too surprised to see this come out. But this is just more game preservation stuff that I'm like, I don't seek it out, but it's like I'm happy that it exists. But because it looks
Hmm.
like they had like early prototype levels you could check out. They've got like documentaries and like digital museums and stuff. So on top of having a lot of Rayman's early adventures, so I thought this was pretty cool actually.
The only note that I had on this one, other
Hmm.
than yay, it exists, is uh really weird that they're gonna release it digitally and physically 4 months apart. Like digitally, it's gonna release like tomorrow, and then it's gonna release 4 months after that physically.
Yeah, I was trying to make sense of that. I wonder if it's like a Ubisoft needs money now sort of thing. So we're gonna put this out. I don't even know if this is Ubisoft that's publishing this, but that's kind of what I wondered. It seems like it was very
Yeah,
much
I'm.
we need to get this out now. We can worry about a physical release later, kind of
Yeah,
a
I
thing.
just don't. I don't know. It's weird. It signals probably to me small physical release, but I was
Yeah,
just like, that's a weird. I don't know that I can remember that happening before.
no, yeah, it usually only happens with like games that are like only released digitally, and then there's a demand for it. So like, oh shit, let's do a special physical release.
Yeah.
But like this is even different from that because it's like, oh, we'll have a general release. To me, it speaks like people that want to have this physically will pick it up when it drops, and then they'll have it on shelves so that like mom will find it for baby Stevie, and they'll be like, oh, here's this. You like Rayman, right? You like Mario? Here he is. So yeah, I don't know. And then we got a another retro, but this time it's more of an homage. We got Mina the Hollower, which I'll be honest, I was not expecting to see here. Um, Happy to see it though, because last we heard about this game, Yacht Club was having some issues, and they really needed this game to hit, and it sounded like it might even be canceled, even though it was slated to release at the end of last year. So happy to see it here. They got a exclusive demo on the PlayStation 5. That's I think it dropped either that day or the day after. I have not had a chance to seek it out. I don't know if that's the same one that's on Steam or not, but I'm very excited for this game. Don't have too much to say. I think I've made my feelings on this game very clear. I'm very excited for it. I don't
Yeah,
know if you
not
have
my kind of
anything.
game.
Fair enough. It should be. It's really good. Austin, I'm gonna make you play it.
Well, it's like Shovel Knight. It's one of those ones that I should play, but will I ever find the time to play it? Probably not.
That
The
is
platformer just
more
doesn't
than
do it
fair.
for me. And then you add the like boss fight piece to the platformer, and I'm just like, this is something I'm gonna suck at forever. And I don't know that I really. And the same
Oh,
thing with like Silk Song, Hollow
mm,
Knight, like all of them. I'm just like, this is not.
no, that's
I
totally
don't have
fair.
the time or effort to put into that.
For what it's worth, this looks like this plays much more like a 2D Zelda, but I understand that's not your jam. Anyway, we move on to another quick hit. We got I think this is what being published as DLC for Neva, or is it a new release? The
DLC.
It is DLC. Okay, so they're calling it Neva Prologue. It's what it sounds like. If you remember the game Neva that came out, I don't remember if that was last year or the year before. It must have been 2 years ago now. Um, it's just a prologue to that. Seems cool if you played the base game and you want to check it out. I hear great things about it. I haven't personally played it, so I don't know, but
And it
looks
comes out
cool.
in 3 days.
Yeah.
2 days from when this is posted.
So you don't have too long to wait for that. Very exciting. Then we jumped into one. I'm gonna be honest. I also zoned out for. Yakoh Shinobi Ops from Shueisha Games. This was a new reveal. Very much a tactical ninja shinobi adventure sort of thing. I don't know. This one didn't really speak to me too much, if I'm being honest.
I don't. I've never understood the real time tactical style. It doesn't, and I even like Lamplighters League, which does like a mix of real
Mm-hmm.
time and turn based. I actually enjoyed, but I just I've never understood the real time tactical. It doesn't do it for me. The
Yeah,
only interesting note on this one was it's literally the only game, like I said earlier, that they had a 27 date on in the
that's a
whole
good
show.
point. That's a good point. So yeah, 27 is when that's coming out. So you do have to wait a while for that. I'm not sorry. Yeah, that one just doesn't grab me too much. So I don't have too much to say on that. Ready to move on. Um,
Mhm.
this next one, I didn't pay attention to it in the when I was watching this for the first time, but then going back to it, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. um, so this is Project Windless. This is the reveal of that from Crafton. This is based on a Korean book series, A Bird That Drinks Tears. It's a big deal over there, I've been told. I've personally never heard of it. Um, but it looks like God of War, but you're a chicken.
Mhm.
Uh, and it looks cool. I'm gonna be honest. This looks fun.
Yeah, it looks super unique for sure. It's it's got that along the same lines of the Black Myth Wukong's art style,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of fits into the different areas of Asia, obviously. But
Right.
the interesting thought that this made me think is how many times does something go from a book series to a game directly? Like that doesn't really
Right.
happen. And the obvious example is Witcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
That went from book to game,
Yeah.
and was really popular. But this is just like a really unique kind of circumstance. Like typically it goes movie or TV show. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
go game. And it says it's like thousands of years before the source material. So it's not the source
It's not
material
even like
in
the
the same
yeah.
way that it's in the same way that The Witcher is not the source material
Right.
either. Um, but I found that interesting. Like, why doesn't that happen more? They're like such so drastically different mediums, right? Like video games are so visual that translating from a book, which is like purely in your head,
Mm-hmm.
um, I imagine is pretty hard. So that's part of it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I'd be curious. Now, is the what's the book series I'm thinking of? It has an Amazon show, The Expanse.
Hmm.
Is because I know they had like that Telltale game, and they've got that RPG coming up too, right?
Hmm.
Is
Osiris Reborn.
that more based on the show or the books? Because I know the show's based on the books.
It is. Uh, don't quote me on which one, but I
Okay.
believe it is between like 1 and 2 or 2 and 3
Okay.
in the
Uh,
books.
and I know like you can kind of come up with a visual style based on what the TV show is, but so that's a little different. But yeah, it doesn't happen too often.
Well, and part of the thing with that series is I think it's like it's not like perfectly realistic, but semi-realistic, which means that you have
Sure.
kind of a direction in which the style is going to go because you're like taking what we have and
Mm-hmm.
what can be done, and so like you have some kind of barriers there for that.
Right. This it's
Whereas
like.
this is like wholly made up, so you can do whatever you want. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have a two-legged bird human hybrid swinging a massive sword at like weird tentacle tree monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely more room for create or imagination in this one. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. It's coming from Crafton, who has gotten themselves in some hot water with Subnautica 2, among other things. So we'll see. But
The thing that was also weird about this one to me is I never truly understood these types of games where you are fighting like you're bigger than a bunch of little tiny guys that are all around you fighting, but then you're also fighting another big guy in the midst of all of these little small guys.
hmm
Like it I'd never understood that. They're basically like ads, like that are just like
Hmm.
around you all the time, and it's super. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just that
No,
whenever I look
yeah,
at it, I'm like thrown off a little bit by it
yeah. No, it's almost
because they're not even a fight. They're
no.
just there to just like be in your way.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that reminded me of the Dynasty Warriors, like those sort of I forget what the genre of the game is called, but those kind of action games where it's like, yeah, none of these guys are really a threat. They're just there to kind of help you build up your meters and stuff to take on the bosses.
Mhm.
So I
But
don't know.
we're gonna need to see more of it. I mean, this was only the reveal trailer, so we didn't
Yeah.
really see a lot in terms of gameplay or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, but this is definitely on my radar of something I'm gonna keep an eye on and
Yeah.
could definitely see myself playing and enjoying.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that we're keeping an eye on and we'll probably enjoy, the next game they showed was Star Wars Galactic Racer. This was more of
Mm.
a campaign showcase sort of thing. It looks like there was some story beats they were hitting on. Looks like you'll be building up some rivals in this story, which, man, you want to talk about like racing rivalries. Like, come on, man. This looks good. I I
Hmm.
don't think this is anything super revolutionary. I think we saw more Star Wars, more racing. I I'm more and more convinced this game's gonna be good, so I'm here for it.
This all I thought this whole time was this is a slam dunk. I mean, this
Yeah,
is the
thousand
like
percent.
Forza Horizon, but Star Wars. It's like it's an easy, obvious sell. The gameplay is very like racing is racing, right? Like you can
Hmm.
obviously you can adjust the margins, like how drifting works and how it feels to turn and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the as a video game like gameplay, racing is solved. Like it is what it is, and we know what that is. And then you just put incredible visuals of Star Wars around it, and it's like this is an easy sell. It's
Hmm.
just a slam dunk, obvious. Like this thing's gonna sell. I'm can't wait to play it, and it looks like they've nailed it. I mean, they've put
Hmm.
a lot of detail into the world, and that's what really matters.
Yep. They even put one of them pod racers at the end, so it's like, hey, we know what you like. We know what you're here for. Here's your glorp shitto. Enjoy that. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. And then we jumped into another licensed game with First Light. I don't really know what new we got here, if I'm being honest. I feel like we've seen this game like 50 million times.
This here's the thing with this game.
Mhm.
Okay, it feels like it was greenlit and should have released like half a decade ago.
Mm, mm, mm,
It is it like there's nothing wrong with some and again, someone who likes to play both third person like action games and third person shooters. Like this is not an attack on that game play, but it doesn't look like they're doing anything new or interesting. It looks like Uncharted but James Bond,
mhm.
and we've played that out. Like it doesn't feel like you're giving me anything new other than it's James Bond.
Right.
And so I'm kind of concerned about this game, honestly, in the sense that like it looks decent, but it also looks like Amazon has spent gobs of money on this, and I don't think that it's gonna like blow people away.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a strong 8 out of 10 if I had to really put a number to it. I think what really saves it for me is that it's IO Interactive that's working on it. Um, and obviously they're known for a different sort of third person um, type of game, but uh, I think if someone can deliver on, the Uncharted, but it's James Bond sort of premise, I feel like IO could. But I don't know. I'm not super convinced. I'm gonna check this one out. Even though I do like James Bond a lot. I don't know if this one speaks to me personally, but I am definitely I could see myself watching like a playthrough of it on like YouTube or something for sure.
This is a game that falls into the category of if this game comes out and everyone says it's amazing, I'll play it. And if
Yeah.
everyone says it's anything but that, I probably won't.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, It's one of I will I think I'll keep an eye on. I think there's a very good chance I don't play it. Uh, and yeah, yeah, that's right around the corner. That's coming in May on GTA 6's original launch date, which I still love. They're really calling their shot with that one. But then we switched gears to what I like to call the Konami Power Hour, um, where they came and not only did they show up, they showed out. I think
Mm.
this stretch of announcements was easily, I think, some of the best stuff of this. Um,
It's
was-
so interesting because I would go the opposite way.
oh, interesting. So let's get into it. The first thing they showed was Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2. Now this is a big deal. Let me explain it to you, casual gamers out there. So this
Hmm.
game has Metal Gear Solid 4, Sons of Liberty, I think is called, and then Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Now, Metal Gear Solid 4 was originally released on the PS3, very specifically made for the PS3. And if you know anything about the infrastructure of that machine, it's that games made for that system did not run on just about anything else. It's hard to port that. Your best chance for playing that game was cloud streaming it over like PlayStation, whatever their stream service is. So the fact that they've gotten it off of the PS3 and now you can play it natively on whatever console you prefer is a pretty big deal, especially for Metal Gear Solid 4, which is like the culmination of everything in Metal Gear up to that point. So that's a massive deal. And then having Peace Walker, which was originally a PSP title, which is like multiplayer and stuff. I'm not that big on Metal Gear Solid's lore and history, but I know that much. So having these two titles out and about when we were really sure we were ever going to get it is kind of a big deal. So I'm here for it. Uh,
Happy for Metal Gear fans. I don't care.
Excellent, excellent. They did have the nerve to be like, "We hope you look forward to the future of the Metal Gear franchise," and then they cut to Darwin's Paradox wearing Solid Snake gear. That felt like a slap to the face for Metal Gear fans. uh, but I mean, that game looks all right. I'm sure there's a demo out there and people are having their fun with it.
Darwin's
But
Paradox might be my most excited game out of everything that was shown here.
oh my god,
That game looks fucking fun.
it
What?
does. It does look fun. It does look fun. I can't
That looks
even.
like like exactly the kind of like short game that you can play and just enjoy. Like
Hmm.
they find every use for the set of mechanics that are in that game, and then it's over, and you're like, wow, that was fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually low key really excited for that game.
Yeah, that was one of those
Or I guess
games.
high key. I don't know.
It sounds like high key to me, but no, I mean, revealed this game. What was that, last year, and it got delayed to this year. And even seeing it for the first time, I'm like, yeah, that looks interesting. And seeing it here, like watching that trailer, it's like, yeah, that does look great. I can't even deny or be like funny about it. It looks good. So I can't be mad about that. I think we got a release date for that one. No.
Hmm.
Uh, yes, April 2nd. So we don't have to wait too long. There's a demo out you can check out. Uh, and then we got what was my favorite of this bit. We got a new Castlevania title from the people that did Dead Cells, which is a win and a win. That's two wins right there if you're counting at home, folks. Um, this is Castlevania Belmont's Curse. We're at I cannot tell you a thing about Castlevania lore. I'm just there for the gameplay, if I'm being truly honest with you. It's a 2D Metroidvania from the series that one of the series that started it all. So I'm here for it. I'm down. I'm down to clown. This looks great.
I You can definitely see the Dead Cells influence in this one
Hmm.
very clearly. The thing, and I'm blanking on what the other one they just were showing recently was, but looking at this one compared to again the one that I now can't remember the name that we saw trailer for recently, the
Hmm.
backgrounds in this one look so bland in comparison, which is weird for
I
Castlevania,
was
which is
gonna.
like notably got this really unique style. And I think it is partially the like Dead Cells not really meshing with Castlevania necessarily from an art
Hmm.
style perspective.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I think they seem dynamic enough and like I don't know. I don't if I knew what game you were comparing it to, maybe I'd have a
I
better.
know. I'm so pissed I can't remember it because I remembered it on when I was watching the thing originally, and now
Uh
I'm
huh.
like, fuck, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the backgrounds now only because you called it out, and I'm like, no, these look. It looks fine to me. I don't know what you're comparing it to, so I don't know. I don't have any real rebuttal other than that. That
Everyone in the Metroidvania world's gonna be like, "You fucking suck. This game looks awesome. Like, you don't even know what you're saying. You can't even remember the title." And I deserve to be clowned because I can't even fucking remember it. But it was so like it was because I'm not really a Metroidvania guy, but I saw it and I was like, "This looks incredible."
yeah. Oh, and
And
yeah, yeah.
now I'm like, "Fuck, what was?"
And I'm sure there are plenty of Metroidvanias that have better backgrounds than this. So I'm not even like trying to like clown you or whatever. So I'm sure you have some reason to believe that you're right. So I don't know. I don't want to say nothing, but yeah, I guess back to the topic at hand. It's like, yeah, I mean, Dead Cells did a collab with Castlevania. That was one of the, like their last DLCs on the game, I think, if I remember correctly. So I think this is a natural fit. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. I forget if we got a date for that. 2026. Not really a date, but kind of. So yeah, I'm very excited for that at least. Austin. Um,
Happy for you.
and then we got a trailer for Silent Hill Townfall. I'm not a or yeah, I'm not a Silent Hill guy, so this didn't do too much for me, but it looks interesting. That's all I gotta say about
Uh,
it.
I had the same reaction that I had to the Resident Evil one, where they
Hmm.
multiple times did the look. This is the thing that you know of, extra long shot, and I was like, I don't know it.
Did they? I don't know Silent Hill, so maybe I just completely missed it. I think what struck me about this one is we just had Silent Hill F last year, and I think this is part of Konami's push to make Silent Hill like one of the big like horror franchises, and I think it's working. So we had the Silent Hill 2 remake the year before last year, so this is like the third year in a row where we have a big new Silent Hill title. Um, so I'm happy for them, happy for you Silent Hillers. Um,
It does feel like you should be able to really pump out these kinds of games.
mhm.
Not in the sense that like they're low quality or anything, but that the core gameplay is like consistent. So if you have the engine and you have the gameplay, it's really a story thing. So it really should be like pretty uh like concise in terms of building of the game, and then it's just like art style and story. So I feel like you really should be able to like kind of put a lot of them out quickly and make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, well, I'll take it a little further. Because this Silent Hill F and this game are being made by different developers. They're both being published by Konami. But this one's like Annapurna. This is Screenburn. Um, I don't remember who made F, but two different teams. These games seem to have different gameplay styles. I think F's more of a third person survival horror. This is more of a first person,
Hmm.
which if you keep outsourcing it, kind of like what they're doing with Castlevania also, it's like, well, yeah, you can easily have three different studios working on three different Silent Hill titles, and then bam bam bam, year after year, you know what I mean? um
I've spent a lot of time thinking about everyone talking about how it costs so much to make video games and all of that. And I'm
mhm.
like, what happened to the world where like you kind of built the base layer in the first game and then put out like two more games in quick succession after that because you kind of built the foundation and then you just like added a little bit and updated the graphics a bit. Like what happened to that kind of create game creation where if you make a little bit of money on the first one, good, but you really make
Mhm.
more money by lowering your costs on the next game or two because you've kind of built the foundation.
Yeah, but no, I wish we could go back to. I think game budgets have just ballooned like beyond a responsible amount. So I think going back to that, back to basics, as it were, would be a good idea. And that's kind of what I like about the Resident, or sorry, not Resident Evil, Final Fantasy VII remake trilogies. They're more or less doing that. Like they've even said, "Hey, we're not changing engines. We're gonna stick with this engine so we can get this third game out as quickly as possible." and just iterate on what we've already built. So there's still games like that out there, but yeah, I think from a large point we have moved away from that, unfortunately. But yeah, that's Silent Hill Townfall. Um, then we ended on a weird note from Konami. They showed up their new JRPG called Rev Noir. Um, to me it seems them showing this last means they're confident in this, and I haven't seen enough to really say they've earned that. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Mm, I don't. It looks like most other JRPGs that I've seen.
Yeah, that's I can't even fault you for that because it does. There's like a brief snippet of action that they do show that was like, oh, that's kind of neat, but yeah, I need to see more from this before I have any real thoughts on that. But them showing it last makes me think that they're confident in it in this at least. Yeah, we don't have a release window for that, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit. And then we got one that probably got both of us to be like, wait, hold on. We got an untitled John Wick game. Um,
Mhm.
didn't get too much from this. It seemed to be mostly a cinematic trailer. With what maybe could be gameplay. I don't know. We didn't get a whole lot from this. But yeah, it's just off the rip. What did you think of that?
My first thought when I saw it was, how has there not been John Wick DLC in the Hitman series yet?
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a slam dunk like crossover that the Hitman should be doing.
Yeah,
We got a fucking Casino Royale crossover, and we don't have a John Wick crossover.
that's
Uh,
so true.
on this one itself, we really didn't see much, but my thought from hearing them talk about it is this has the potential to bring a whole new style of game to into existence. And what I mean by that is like the whole gun fu like movie stuff is not something that you can do in any game that I've seen currently. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that is fluid enough to interact with the environment to pick up guns and knives and all that kind of stuff from around you in these fluid fights. That doesn't really exist. So if they figure out a way to do that that feels really good, this could be incredible. Do I
Yeah,
think that they're going to pull that off? I would probably, just bet on the side of innovation is hard, and so probably not. But if they do, that would be incredible. Like I think this has the potential to be like an Uncharted back in the day, right? Where it like kind of revolutionized a style of game in a way.
yeah. Seeing this, getting excited, being like, oh, sweet, and then seeing who's working on it, and it's Saber. It's like, okay, my hopes go down a little bit. Not to say Saber can't do good stuff. They did or Space Marine 2, right? I'm pretty sure. Um, so there's hope there. But like my pie in the sky wish for this would have been Slow Clap, who did Rematch and Sifu. I think that they did a really good job of like, oh, hey, there's like a pot here. Let me, pick this up so I can either bash someone's skull in or throw it at someone to stun them and then go in and combo them. Like, I think they had a really good understanding of what, martial arts and improvised weapons, how that feels. And for me, that's a lot of the appeal to John Wick. And then on top of that, you have the good solid gunplay, and he's bulletproof suit. And he's like, oh, you know what I mean. So just add a couple of those elements on, you got yourself a stew. So for it to not be slow clap and be saber instead, I'm cautious. I'm cautious. I want it to be good though.
I did also sit there the whole time because he didn't speak until the very end, being like,
Hmm.
please actually have Keanu. And they did. So bonus points for that.
God, I laughed out loud when he said yeah, because it sounded like they just got the sound clip from like the movie, kind of like some of the like early 2010 Lego games did. And I was like, this it didn't sound great to me. Maybe it's just how I was watching it, so I don't know. They better have Keanu
I
Reeves
just
like full on.
I just don't want someone to try and do Keanu. I just want Keanu.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're trying to do a Keanu Reeves impression, it's just gonna sound bad. And Keanu Reeves is like a
Yeah.
special kind of bad that only he is.
This is like a slightly weird. way to talk about this, but I was playing Jurassic World Evolutions the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, part of the storyline is like Bryce Dallas Howard's character and Chris Pratt's characters like
Uh-huh.
speak, but they don't have the actual voice actors.
Oh no.
And the Bryce Dallas Howard one is pretty good, like
Okay.
pretty decent. The Chris Pratt one is horrible. It's not even close. And I just sit there every time he talks, and I'm like, this is fucking awful, and it takes me out. So that's what I don't want. Like when you have this immersive game that they're trying to create here with the
Mm-hmm.
gun fu and all of that kind of stuff, if I then had to hear fake Keanu Reeves' voice, it would not work. So just pay what it takes to get Keanu Reeves
Mm-hmm.
to do that. I mean, he already likes being in games. He headlined Cyberpunk, so
Right.
like
That's true. Wouldn't
just
be a hard get.
just do it.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I had a similar experience. I was playing Super Mario Wonder, and it didn't sound like Chris Pratt at all. Uh, I was really disappointed by that.
Uh-huh.
All right. Then moving on from the Baba Yaga, we had a whole section on Marathon. This isn't the first time they re-revealed it since they went dormant for a little bit, but this is like a big showing for a lot of cool stuff. Um, this one I tuned out a little bit, but only because I know I was gonna try the stress test that they were promoting. So I was like, I'll just make my own judgments then. But even the little bit that I was watching this, I mean, Bungie still has it. What did you think of this
Well,
shown?
the thing you could always guarantee was that they were
Mm-hmm.
gonna have the crisp Bungie gunplay,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so at its core, that was always going to be there. And I don't know that this trailer really adds much other than to say like the server slam is coming, and that's like this is the thing that hurt Highguard in some sense is they didn't take feedback or didn't give themselves the opportunity to take feedback, right? They didn't do a beta. There was nothing other than the trailer. They went silent and then they released it and said, "Here you go." And they didn't have it nailed. They needed this, we're going to go back, we're going to look at it, we're going to do that. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
have a beta, you're going to give us your thoughts, and then we're going to tweak it, and then we're going to release it. And so Marathon's doing all of the right things with that. And because of that, I think they've done an insane 180. I can't believe that we're here. The like we're talking like 5% odds I would have given it. Like if you would have said I will bet 10,000 to 1 odds, like would you take that on this game is going to make a comeback? I would have said this is 100% going to fail and
Mm-hmm.
would have had to pay out $10,000. Like this it's quite crazy.
Yeah, I am honestly, and we've talked about it before, but of how Marathon's made this massive comeback, and it's, I've not really seen it happen that way before. From what most other games would have been killed by a plagiarism controversy, and they've somehow gotten around it. And honestly, I'm a Bungie defender. I love Halo 1, 2, and 3 and Reach. Destiny. Every time I dabbled in it, I've really enjoyed it. So I've never wished ill for them. And I wasn't sure if this game was for me or not because I didn't know if I was an extraction shooter junkie or not. But this showing, playing Arc Raiders, having that under my belt now, I think me and then the world at large is ready for Marathon to come out. So I'm very impressed by what they've been able to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely. God, that art style's so good. I do like that a lot. And it's
The
not
other thing,
plagiarized now.
which is not in the state of play, but we
Mm.
just have to talk about a little bit, is
Mm-hmm.
the cast for this voice acting cast for this came out, and it is incredibly stacked, like
Yeah,
weirdly stacked. And so they got like Ben Starr and a bunch of other big
sure.
time voice actors. Here's my question:
Uh-huh.
Why? This is not a story game. Like, what? There is story, right? In the same way that there's story
Right.
and Arc Raiders, but like Arc Raiders went the other way, right? They used AI to extend voice logs for people so they didn't have to have them come record because
Mm-hmm.
the voice lines don't matter. So is there some like deeper like story piece to this that we just don't know about or they're not talking about? Like what why do we have all these people?
Well, I'm wondering because this is a new title in a series that's been dormant for like 30 years that they're like, well, maybe there are old marathon heads that are coming back to this that played the originals back in the day, and they're like, maybe we throw this in for them. I don't know. I really don't know where this fits in the largest scope of that narrative. Um, I don't know. I feel like Bungie's are always kind of done that going back to like Destiny 1 and 2 where it's like they're telling a narrative even though you're doing like the same multiplayer stuff over and over again. It's like, well, we're still telling a narrative that's going to build up. I can kind of see them doing that with this though differently because this is an extraction shooter, not a MMO for lack of a better description for
Yeah.
um mhm,
What it really makes me think is this whole final raid map style thing that they have. Like, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but effectively there's like a handful of maps, right? And
mhm,
I can't remember. Let's just say it's four. The first three are basically like your standard extraction shooter type map where they have their own kind of gameplay styles based around the whole thing. And then they have this kind of like end game, you have to have a certain level of loot kind of map on a ship, and
mhm,
this ship has like raid style mechanics where there's kind of like these vaults that you can get to, that you can like battle to, and there's this, they had like a teaser for like this boss kind of guy,
uh-huh.
and it makes me think that this is actually way deeper than I thought it was. Like there's going to be a whole bigger thing on this ship, and it's going to be like dynamic, and there's going to be different characters and voices and that kind of stuff. And if that's the case, this is like could put Marathon in this whole other like, not as it, not only is it a an extraction shooter, but it's like innovating on the extraction shooter genre with this like raid RPG MMO kind of like Destiny piece that they're adding into it that could be really interesting.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but I could totally see Bungie just throwing that in there and just being like, hey, we're building up to something, having this, map that you've been playing on for like, the same map that you've been playing on for weeks now. All of a sudden, there's a new enemy faction out there. There's some new boss. We're building up to this big story beat here. Um, it seems like a Helldivers thing to do. It seems like something they could do with this too. That intrigues me for sure. I love that kind of stuff when they're able to just throw stuff in there and be like, "Hey, this isn't going to be the same map you've been playing on for weeks now." And I think if
Mhm.
anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Bungie. So yeah, I am intrigued. I'm excited. I'm going to say it. I'm excited for Marathon. Wouldn't have
Wow,
expected to say
you're
that six
really,
months ago.
really out on a ledge with that one these days.
Mm-hmm. And then they started talking about a bunch of like PlayStation Plus stuff. I don't think we need to talk about that. I mean, cool.
Nope.
That's for the real PlayStation sickos. Then we got more about Saros. I'm trying to remember what we got that was new here. I think we got some like new gameplay mechanic stuff.
Yeah, it was in mostly a gameplay overview.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm already into the game. I know it's just more Returnal, but with a different flavor. So I'm in regardless. It looks dope.
The
That's coming
thing,
out in April.
the
Hmm.
thing that was super interesting about this for me was there's always this ongoing conversation about difficulty in
Hmm.
how you develop games, right? Like some people are very adamant, like Red Dead. There are no abilities to adjust the game. The game
Hmm.
difficulty is the game difficulty.
Yeah.
Or uh like Returnal is the same way, Dark Souls for the most part I think is the same way, right? It just kind of is, and you have to deal with it. And then there's the like, we've developed it for this, but you can also play it on easy or hard. And then there's also the like Hogwarts Legacy, Baldur's Gate. There's like an adventure mode where basically the combat's nothing, and
Right.
there's an honor mode and everything in between. Uh, and they have an interesting spin on it in Saros where you can adjust up or down different things. Like if you don't like this attribute or that attribute, they basically have like points. So
Hmm.
like you can take one thing away and that costs you points, but then you have to add in other things to balance it out. So the game doesn't, the rough level of difficulty is always about the same, but the pieces of that difficulty that you have to have in your game can be adjusted. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really interesting and unique take on the way to handle difficulty in a game. And so I'm really interested to see how that kind of plays out. Like, is it balanced well? Because obviously that means you're going to have a very keen sense of what all of these different things do uh, to make sure that it all balances out. But I think it's a really interesting concept for how to manage difficulty.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. It feels similar to the I'm gonna forget what it's called, but there's a mechanic in Hades once you beat your first run that you can like add modifiers, which allows you to get more resources and encourages you to play the game more than just finishing it once. This is a
Mhm.
little different because I think those only strive to make your game harder, where this is a mix of
Yeah.
both easier and harder. Because I don't recall Returnal having anything quite like this. The closest I think can think of is like the parasites that you can pick up, which you're getting some sort of risk with that, but you're also getting a reward with it too. So that's just normal roguelite shenanigans, honestly. But yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I mean, Return Housemark doesn't miss as far as I can tell. And we don't have to wait too long. April 28th, not too long, not too far away. Um,
Mhm.
and then we
Is
got
there a co-op version of this one, or is it strictly solo?
is
Do
it
we know
what's
that
sorry?
co-op? Is there any co-op version? Because I know Returnal has it now. I did it came out later, but
Yeah, it didn't have it on release. I haven't seen anything for this having that either. I can totally see them adding it in later though, if it doesn't release with that. But yeah, no, I'm excited for it. That game looks fucking sick. And the deluxe edition I'm seeing has a God of War armor. I'm not gonna pick that up. I might pick that up. Um, but anyway, then I get to nerd out a little bit. We get to Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. We get a little bit of a tease of what the story might be about. We see, all right, Austin, let me paint a picture for you. All right, viewer
Mhm.
at home, let me paint a picture of you, or not of you, of the trailer we saw. Gosh, stop
Paint
jumping to
me like
conclusions.
your French ladies or whatever he says or she says.
Yep, pretty much. We cut to Chandelar. All right, the Shi'ar homeworld. All right, now Austin, the Shi'ar. All right, are a galactic faction that are usually allied with the X-Men. So that's when I knew we were in for a treat. And then we see Deathbird lying on the ground. She's been beat up. She's the sister to Princess Lilandra, who's Professor X's often lover. Anyway, then we see a mysterious villain holding Gladiator, who's like pretty much Superman. And like anyway, I digress. We get a little bit of a story here. I'm going too long on the tooth on that one. Basically, the point of this is we have the X Men faction shown off in full. We have Storm, Wolverine, your two staples for any Marvel fighting game. And then we throw in Magic, who is a rising star, and Danger for some fucking reason. Can you? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, I didn't want any other. I didn't want like Nightcrawler or Cyclops. It's fine. Danger's cool. We like Danger. Everyone knows Danger. It's fine. I mean, she does look
Yep.
legit cool, so I'm not actually mad. I think it's a fun choice, but uh not too much to say here. I think we're getting this in August. Yeah, I think we got a release date for this one. I don't know if we had that before. This game continues to look like it could be fine. So, we'll see.
After all that, it turns out that it could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I they had a player. They've had a couple of betas, and they've had plenty of feedback that they're definitely adjusting, and then getting the fact that they're only releasing like 20 playable characters, and it's a 4v4 fighter. A lot of questions, a lot of concerns. It might run into the same problems that 2XKO is currently running into. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic. I just like Marvel, so I'm here to geek out on all the X-Men shit. Um, I don't know if you have anything else to add on that we can.
Interest this
Mhm.
so notably, Magic is in Midnight Suns, the
He is.
game, which is a really fun game.
Mhm.
And actually, Magic, super deep character, not just in that game, but just in general.
Yeah.
Like, actually, a super crazy, weird, and interesting backstory
Mhm.
and character. But she feels like um, in the joke in Deadpool when he shows up to Xavier's school and is like, why are the only two people I'm seeing is Cyclops and Negam
It's like
Sonic
you couldn't afford any
Cage,
other
whatever
mutants.
his name is. Yeah, that's how somehow what magic feels like. It's like
That's
when you can't put in someone that people actually care about, put in magic because she's low key actually super interesting, but
yeah.
no one cares that much about her, so she doesn't cost that much.
Well, and it's weird too, because like, yeah, she's always been interesting. I've been a Magic fan for a while now. I was happy she was in Midnight Suns, and then she's in Marvel Rivals, and she's fairly popular there too. So I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And then to see her get one of like the four X-Men spots in this roster, it's like, okay, like yeah, Danger's a head scratcher, but Magic, I don't know. I'm biased because I like Magic. I think she's really super cool, so I'm not actually upset or questioning it really. But I can totally see where you're like, why do I only keep seeing Colossus and this teenage warhead? Uh, put in no, I was gonna go for an obscure X-Men. I'm just gonna move on. Um,
Kitty Pride, put in that obscure character.
oh, she's not obscure. Why would you? Oh, it's fine.
That's the joke, Patrick.
You're hurting me because people are gonna be like, "Who the fuck's Kitty Pride?" Anyway, we move on to Sony Santa Monica's double feature here. We get
The
uh
end of the show with that.
yeah, the final two announcements. We get an announcement of the God of War trilogy remakes, not a remaster, a remake. Um, I have no idea if this means there are three separate remakes or if it's just one big game. But
I think by the way they introduced it, it's one.
I would hope
That's an
so.
inference, not a statement of fact.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I'm curious. Then we had the original voice of Kratos, TC Carson, show up and sell us on this. And buddy, this guy could sell beer to an alcoholic. That's a bad example. Um,
Mm.
Bro has like maxed out his charisma and Fallout. Like he was just he was great. This was easily a highlight of the presentation for me. It wasn't even a game. It's just this guy talking. Um,
Which is crazy because I thought he was kind of cringe, honestly.
wow. All right. You did not do band or theater in high school. I can tell. Uh, anyway,
As a person who notably played bass clarinet, clarinet, and oboe, that hurts.
you don't give off theater kid energy or band kid energy. Maybe you do, and I'm just no, you do. All right, I take it back. Will you forgive me, Austin?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, didn't get too much on that other than it's happening, and next time they show up, it'll be big, which just feels like normal marketing speak. We then get to the final announcement, and one I think a lot of people have been waiting for a while now, and I think that's almost working against it. I'll say what I mean in a minute, but we get God of War, Sons of Sparta, a 2D Metroidvania. Yeah, it's a prequel. You get Kratos and his brother Demos doing their thing. What this do for you, Austin?
Well, I never played the original trilogy, much like you, so I didn't
Hmm.
have much to say about that. Although I did see everyone on Twitter when they announced this going, how apparently there was a sex minigame in the original God of War trilogy,
Hmm.
and everyone was wondering how that's gonna work. Uh, so interested to see how that's gonna work, I guess. I think ultimately the fact that God of War has kind of had a second coming with Ragnarok and it's got this whole new gameplay. I think it this is the perfect example of something that you can remake. And
Mm-hmm.
I much like Witcher when the Witcher 1 remake comes out is probably going to be my entry into that. Same thing with like how Dead Space was, although I'm probably never gonna play Dead Space 2 because they're not gonna remake it. But so I'm excited in that sense, but they didn't really show us anything here. When it comes to the what is it called? Something of Sons. What
Sons
did you
of
say?
Sparta.
Sons of Sparta, yes. It actually kind of fits into a similar vein as the Castlevania one did for me,
Mm.
where the it kind of felt empty in the background in a way that I was like weirded out by in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. I was like I don't get me wrong, it still looks pretty good, but I was kind of just like, this feels really simple for God of War. Like God of War in my mind, I think of really bombastic, loud characters, big personalities, and the art style of this was like very minimalist almost in a weird way.
Yeah.
So that was kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, it's got this like 16-bit art style, so there's not necessarily as much uh detail. It's not like true 16-bit, but it's got that kind of pixely
Yeah.
style. So
I know
you
what you
can't put
mean.
as
Yeah.
much detail in it. But I was just a little thrown by that.
Yeah, real quick, cause yeah, to touch on the remakes, just to like kind of shove that discussion. Then it's like, yeah, there's some questionable stuff in those original games. I'll be curious to see how they do that. You're totally right on that. Um, and I'll be curious to go back and see how they change the story. If they do, what kind of nods they might put into the Norse duology, if they do anything with that. Still got a ways to wait for that. That's very early development, so I'm not expecting anything anytime soon. But as far as the Sons of Sparta game goes, I actually will agree with you on the backgrounds on this one. um, this is this having this game be like, I don't want to say hyped up, but like being aware of its existence for like the last 6 months ish, has had me thinking of also for different types of like what this game could look like. Um, and then to have that all built up in my head and then to see it almost felt disappointing. Even though it looks totally fine, it looks serviceable. But that's just it. It looks serviceable. I'm thinking of like, just this presentation alone, we had a new Castlevania and it looks great. We had a Prince of Persia game come out not all that long ago that was also a Metroidvania that also looked phenomenal. Um, so the visual style of this does not do much for me. It looks muted, if you will.
The thing that's extra crazy about that is both of us said when you told me that this was coming into an existence, because I didn't even know that was happening.
Mhm.
We were both like, this makes perfect sense. This is the exact type of game that fits into this character and world. And then it's like a young version, like almost completely different character, like learning how to fight thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like,
Hmm.
this game exists perfectly in a way that you could just like take those characters and put them into this and just be like, yes, this works. And
Yeah.
I don't, it's just a little weird. It's like it feels like they had a home run and they made it a base hit.
No, straight up, straight up. Because to me, it's like I hear this is happening. It's like this isn't normal God of War gameplay. Maybe we're not playing as Kratos. Maybe this is something that happens after Ragnarok, and you're playing as like maybe a son or something. You're going off on your own adventure or something. No spoilers. But there's like a million different routes you could take just out of Ragnarok alone. You could even do like, oh, this is how he found his way to the Norse mythos, how he got his way there. Like, I don't know if that's ever fully explained, or maybe it is, and I'm just forgetting. But um, I feel like there's a million different ways you could have taken, and they chose to do a prequel, which I guess if you're trying to tee up to the remakes that are probably years away, I guess that makes sense. But it feels like the safe and boring answer as opposed to what could have been really exciting. Uh, that being said, this is I do eventually plan on picking this up. It does look fun. I hear that it's good, good not great, but good. So I do plan on checking it out eventually, but I don't know. I was a little let down from this, and I'm not sure if that's because of all of me building it up for myself in my own head, giving myself false hopes or whatever.
Well, I feel like it can squarely fit into the category of it's a good game, but it doesn't live up to what it could be, and so
Mm,
therefore it's diminished comparatively to what it could be if
yeah.
it was just like something new, right? And so like it's just weird. I don't know. It just feels like they went slightly askew, and you're just like, I feel like this was an easy knock it out of the park, and you decided to go like take the left hand lane into this like weird rocky territory. Those I'm mixing metaphors here at this point, but
I knew what you meant. But yeah, I mean, I like it from the perspective that it's like, okay, you got Kratos and his brother Demos, which is part of like, there's a spin-off game that's not a main title that you deal with his brother, and he's talking to Calliope, who I don't think you really meet until like, well, I think she's like his daughter in the first one, so I guess there's that. But um so there's like cool little beats for like long time fan. I don't know. It just feels like such a weird pull to do this instead of something else. I don't know. I'm not mad at it, but I'm not thrilled with it. So, but that about does it for the state of play. Yeah, overall, yeah, pretty strong showing, better than I thought it'd be. I know we covered this at the beginning of the show. Do you have any closing thoughts on this before we head out?
Nope.
Cool.
I was thinking of something in my head, and then I was like, actually, no, I don't.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff being shown here. Don't have too much more to say on this. So yeah, I guess what that means is we got to outro the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Austin, will we be back next week?
Probably. People are wilding out there on the internet right now, so we probably will have plenty of topics.
That is true. Things are happening. News has happened that we almost discussed today, but we will talk about it. Next week, we'll be back with a new episode of Gaming News. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe, hit that thumbs up, hit that bell so you know when we go live or start recording or post a video. Rather, you're not going to know we're recording. Get out of our heads. Um, so yeah, do all that good stuff. What did you enjoy in the state of play? What are you looking forward to the most? Make sure to comment that down below. And until next time, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you later.